Up next on The Reveal.
They always promise your name will not be released. We really protect the names of sexual assault victims, and now it's on the internet for anybody to see.
An 11-year-old's sexual assault written out for all the world to see.
It's just bad. One, it's re-victimization.
And I heard about 10 or 15 pops.
Grief comes in waves, and I never know what's going to trigger it.
The mom of a fallen Marine targeted by a con man.
He got my trust. Marines don't lie. That's part of the code. Integrity, honor, commitment.
How he used that trust to fund a lavish lifestyle with cars and sex toys.
The first thing out of his mouth was, "Mom, I was raped. Can you come get me?"
A teen raped, the suspect arrested, an ironclad case that takes a drastic turn.
I just can't believe because he's not here, a monster is gonna walk free.
The Reveal begins now with investigators Faith Abube and Brendan Keith.
Welcome to The Reveal, a show where news is made.
A routine trip to the grocery store with her mother ends with a young Georgia girl being sexually assaulted in the store aisle. Her case is raising new questions about how court records are handled in the age of technology. And when it comes to sexual assault survivors, some say the current system leaves them to being victimized over and over again.
To be honest, I was going to jump on him and tear his face off.
Like all of us, 51-year-old April makes such frequent trips to the grocery store. They all feel the same, except this particular day.
You're in the store shopping with your kids.
April remembers turning her back for a quick second to reach for a can of vegetables. And in that time, a stranger walks by and sexually touches her little girl.
That's how quick it was.
Prosecutors charged the 73-year-old predator with 3 counts of sexual battery. We're not showing you his face or telling you his name in order to protect the little girl's identity. It's the same courtesy April wants the courts to give sex crime victims like her daughter.
I do think this is always something that she's going to remember.
April and her family were ready to put the incident behind them, but something led her to the Athens-Clarke Clerk of Court's website.
I just wanted to find out more.
The mother of 2 was frozen in front of her computer, paralyzed by what she was seeing.
I was just in shock.
She was staring at her daughter's name next to every detail of what happened to her. And if she can, everyone could read it right there on the Athens-Clarke Clerk of Court's website.
When you report it to the police and you go through the court system, they always promise your name will not be released. No one will know your name. We really protect the names of sexual assault victims. They promised us that too, and now it's on the internet for anybody to see.
It wasn't just April's daughter. The 11 Alive investigators found details about sex crimes committed against several other children on the county's website. We didn't even need the victims' names. The suspect was enough.
It's just bad. One, it's re-victimization.
Andrew Agustin is the CEO and General Counsel for the Children's Advocacy Centers of Georgia, or CAC.
2, there's privacy concerns. 3, there's security concerns. 4, when the child's old enough, the child may Google herself or himself and see that information.
It's exactly the kind of potential harm the CAC has worked for years to try to minimize when kids become victims of sex crimes. He says publishing their names online after the case is over is violating those victims over again.
Justice may have happened in the courtroom, but life continues past the courtroom. And so this is one of the things that seems little, but it's really big. And it's one of those things that we need to put a stop to.
In this case, the person who can stop it is Beverly Logan, the Athens-Clarke Clerk of Court. When the 11 Alive investigators reached out to her by phone, she said no one ever complained about the county posting unredacted documents about sex crime victims on their website. And quote, "I can see where that can be disturbing, but we did it as a service to the public." That public service is why more and more court systems across the country are moving their records online. It makes it easier for the public to have access to them. In Georgia, all state and superior courts are legally required to use e-filing in civil cases by January 1st, 2019. There is no such mandate right now for criminal cases, but a growing number of counties already offer that as a public service. Is the availability of electronic records complicating this?
It's incredibly efficient, but as you can see, as you found in your reporting, there's things that they still need to do. It's a gap that something fell through that I think is preventable, and we need to fill that gap.
Athens-Clarke County isn't the only one publishing the names of sex crime victims online. Several of Georgia's 159 counties face the same dilemma as they move their court records online. There's currently no law in Georgia prohibiting any of these court clerks from posting documents that identify sex crime victims on their websites.
It just blows me away.
In contrast, Cobb County is one of a few counties taking steps to minimize any potential harm. The county clerk told the 11 Alive investigators in a statement that the office restricts internet access for any victim, no matter their age. This is for sexual crimes only. This procedure is a courtesy of the clerk. A courtesy other counties like Athens-Clarke don't offer right now. In fact, Logan said they'd never even thought about the impact.
Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and now they know. And so at some point, once you know something that's causing harm, you've got to address it.
Your fight is to get it off the internet.
Off the internet, that's all I want. Because, you know, who knows if one day somebody's going to Google a person's name and that'll pop up.
For now, no one outside April's family knows about that day inside the grocery store. And April prays it stays that way.
That's a right, I think, as a citizen you should have. Like, you're not the criminal, you're the victim. All you did was just live that day.
So Faith, after weeks of trying to get an interview with the clerk of court, have you heard back?
We finally heard back from her this week. And remember, she originally said this was disturbing. She would look into it and try to fix it. But now in her statement, she's saying, no, I'm not breaking any laws, so things stay as they are. But again, this is not a legal question. This is about what's right and what's wrong.
And what happens now?
The director over at the Children's Advocacy Centers is really interested in getting this fixed. And now he's telling me he's researching what can be done.
Coming up on The Reveal.
He went back towards the garage area and yelled active shooter and was in an effort to get everyone over the fence into safety.
The mother of a fallen Marine speaks out for the first time after losing her son during a terrorist attack on U.S. soil.
If you have a news tip or a comment on one of our investigations, email us at thereveal@11alive.com.
A con man targeting Marine families in their darkest hour has been stopped by a Marietta mom. Kathy Wells sat down with the investigators to speak about the terrorist attack in Chattanooga that killed her son and the con man who took advantage of the fallen Marine's memory.
Oh, there. That's his favorite.
My favorite ride, the
monorail.
Skip Wells was 3 when his mother first took him to Disney World.
He loved the hotel room. He just thought that was a blast.
Every summer, the vacation destination remained the same.
Was there ever a year where he said, Mom, I'm just too old for this?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
That was like your thing.
That was our thing, and he looked forward to it. This is what Disney sent us.
During one visit after joining the Marines, Skip was chosen service member of the day.
A magical day in the Magic Kingdom.
Yes.
That was 2015. Kathy and her son have never been back.
And I heard about 10 or 15 pops.
Grief comes in waves, and I never know what's going to trigger it.
It was 11:01, Thursday, July 16th, just 1 week after that trip, that Skip sent this text message.
He says, active shooter. And I'm like, where? He says, here.
Here was the U.S. Naval Reserve in Chattanooga.
He went back towards the garage area and yelled active shooter in an effort to get everyone over the fence into safety.
But Skip, now known as one of the fallen 5, would not make it out alive.
And I'm proud to be an American.
Looking for a way to honor her son and put the donations made in his name to good use, she reached out to the founder of a charity that seemed to embody the things her son loved most, Marines and Mickey.
Skip would want to send as many of his friends and many of his brothers and their kids to the very place that he loved.
Kathy would donate more than $135,000 to John Simpson, hoping to do just that. But according to this criminal complaint filed in federal court, Simpson would use that money instead to pay his own rent, buy a car, groceries, custom bikinis, makeup, even pay the tax bill for his ex-wife's sex shop.
What he actually spent the money on was twice as humiliating as it was that I even gave him the money.
Bouncing between 5 bank accounts, Federal prosecutors say we have no idea how much of the money was spent. The withdrawals simply show up as cash.
He got my trust. Marines don't lie, right? That's part of the code. Integrity, honor, commitment.
Just look at that tattoo on Simpson's arm. He told donors he was a retired Marine master sergeant.
A Parris Island drill instructor, a former recon guy.
Jason Weeks, who served himself in the Marines, had his doubts.
His resume was pretty stout, but he wouldn't look me in the eye.
It was a tip from a friend that happened to live in Simpson's hometown in Anderson County, South Carolina, that led them to confront Simpson about his background. They invited him to the Semper Fi Bar and Grill with a lie of their own, a check from a large donor.
And he denied it all.
He denied every bit of it.
Still convinced, Kathy drove to South Carolina looking for proof. She found it buried in an old newspaper article. Simpson went AWOL 3 years into his tour. He was found driving on a suspended license, trying to get away with a phony fundraiser for a fire station.
He was AWOL at the time, and he's going door to door asking people for money for something that didn't exist.
Kathy took her findings to the FBI and 11 Alive. That's when we found a trail of criminal and civil cases, fraudulent checks, and business promises never fulfilled.
He blew me off.
We also found Maria Maldonado. She says Simpson raised money in her son's name after he died of brain cancer, but kept most of it.
John Simpson was the Marine that went there to put his dress blues on him so that he was ready for his funeral.
Mind you,
Kathy Wells attended a fundraiser for Penelope Buttress, a terminally ill daughter of another Marine. That family denies ever seeing a dime. They're Marine recruits that told investigators Simpson made illegal withdrawals from their bank accounts. And Jack Hughes, a Vietnam vet assaulted at an airport, says he was just one more face used on a GoFundMe page to deceive donors.
There's a lot of veterans out there that need what he said he had to offer, but he didn't come through with any of it.
But Simpson, now behind bars in federal custody, still maintains his innocence.
Maldonado, Hughes, I mean, these people were before you.
yes.
And yet it wasn't until you that he was stopped.
Right.
What do you think was the difference?
Skip.
Kathy says Skip's story generated enough money and media interest to thrust Simpson's actions into the public eye.
I felt like this is what Skip wanted.
From heartache to humiliation, Kathy says she pushed on in honor of her son. He has been gone 3 years now.
He played Little League.
But his clothes still hang in the closet, his shoes still line the bed. And on her arm is good old Mickey with a note.
This is his handwriting. It says, "I love you, Mommy."
Love, Skip.
Rebecca, has John Simpson responded to these accusations?
He still maintains his innocence. When I first started reporting on this story, he emailed, he called to defend his organization. He says Marines and Mickey has helped dozens of families. But when I really pushed him for proof, that's when he stopped responding. And it could be in part because earlier this year he was convicted of sexual battery, sentenced to 9 years in prison on an unrelated case.
What about Skip's mother? Has she been able to find a way to finally honor her son?
She has. It's great. She's created the Lance Corporal Skip Wells Foundation. Every year it provides money to the ROTC, to the band at Sprayberry High where he graduated, and it also gives college scholarships to students who maybe don't have the best grades but certainly have the determination and drive to attend college.
Coming up on The Reveal.
I'm sorry for doing this to you guys. I love all of you with all my heart.
A heartbroken mom reads her son's suicide note about his violent rape.
I don't want to go, but my head is destroying me.
But the alleged rapist was not prosecuted because of it.
DNA, video evidence, and a written statement from a victim who says he was violently raped.
But the accused rapist was able to avoid prosecution because the teen victim committed suicide before the case went to trial.
He was a free-spirited teen flying through life with wheels in the air.
His positivity was contagious. Like, it affected everybody around him.
Until one night brought him back down to earth. It was April when Garen Hall, just 18, bolted, half-dressed, from this home in the suburbs of Columbus.
I was in shock. This rape killed him.
The accused rapist was Dwight Orr, a 6'1", 200-pound violent ex-con who once went to prison for manslaughter. The two met at a gas station where Garen worked, and Orr was a frequent customer. That night, Garen went to Orr's house to play video games and get high. He later told police he fell asleep, and when he woke up, Orr was standing over him with a gun.
It just broke him.
Garen claimed a knock at the door ended the sexual assault, allowing him to run.
The first thing out of his mouth was, "Mom, I was raped. Can you come get me?"
I could just hear in his voice. I mean, he could barely even speak to me.
A rape kit and video off Orr's phone bolstered the case. Orr was indicted on rape and kidnapping charges, but that didn't end the torment inside Garen. Week after week after week.
I'm sorry for doing this to you guys. I love all of you with all my heart.
Who wrote a letter to family before ending his life in June.
I'm sorry I was not strong enough for this world. It's all just too much for me to handle. I don't want to go, but my head is destroying me. These thoughts are too much for me to handle.
3 months after Garen's death, prosecutors dropped rape charges against Dwight Orr. Refusing WKYC's request for an interview, they released a statement saying they did not believe they could win a conviction without Garen's testimony. They never found a gun or witness, and added that in any sexual assault case without the victim or other evidence, the state is unable to proceed so as to prove guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
I just can't believe because he's not here, a monster is gonna walk free. It doesn't make sense to me.
Those who loved Garen say the system failed.
Not many men come forward about it, but he was willing to. If you also look at it this way, who runs out of a man's house screaming, yelling, running for their life, saying that they were raped?
While experts concede it is a tough case, prosecutors may have ignored other options. Connie Hightower is an adjunct law professor at the University of Akron and says a judge could still allow a jury to review the statements Garen made immediately after the incident, something called excited utterances.
Some of those statements would be allowed to come in if he was under, let's say, the present sense impression.
A strategy the family would like the state to consider. Well, tonight, Dwight Orr is a free man, and the teen he knew from the gas station is gone.
Just because he's dead, he still has a voice.
Investigator Andrew Horansky from our sister station in Cleveland has an update on where the case currently stands.
Prosecutors say the case remains open, while tonight that mother believes her family's best shot is for a jury to decide, not a prosecutor, if there's a case. She's continuing to fight for her family's day in court. For The Reveal, I'm Andrew Horansky reporting.
If you have a news tip or a comment on one of our investigations, email us at thereveal@11alive.com.
Next week on The Reveal, never before seen video inside a murder investigation, signs of a struggle, and a woman sentenced to life in prison.
I think she needed to die there.
What new evidence discovered 14 years later that could set a woman free?
I'm tired of joking around. I'm telling you the truth. No, you're not.
That's next week on The Reveal.
You've been watching The Reveal, a show fueled by investigations that have impact.
Join us next week for The Reveal, a show where news is made.